years ago, and in wet years previous to this road can be covered from 1 to 6 inches of water for about 3 months of the year, in a wet year. And that water runs from the east west towards Howlong, and also down Humphreys Road onto the Riverina Highway. In some wet years, the water has gone onto the highway, so police have had to put signs up warning people that water was on the road at that intersection. So the problem was when they built the new highway years ago, most of the facilities to take water underneath the highway into the Pale Creek, to the south of it, were taken out. So between just east of Mayfield, there's a culvert that takes a lot of water from the hills to the south, to the north of this Bungarat area. The water goes east in the paddocks, but also comes down into that area and comes through and runs into the Pale Creek. But there's no other culverts until you get to Wiseworth, which is nearly at Howlong. So where this water's going to go could be a problem. A bit of past history, people that have been around that area for a long while have told me that on the previous owner of the property where the feedlot's been constructed, the woman that owned the property or was living on the property had to leave her car down at right on the Riverina Highway during a wet winter, and use gumboots to work the length of Humphreys Road down to her car for the whole winter, because that road, admittedly, there wasn't a lot of gravel on the road in those days, but there was a lot of water, and she had to walk that distance. I'd just like to see more diligence on this proposal for those reasons. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Weston, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. David Perry.
Turn it on.
Staying on? Yes. Madam Mayor. David, what's the distance from the hall and tennis courts to the proposed feedlot site? It's fairly close, isn't it?
Road-wise? You mean
As the crow flies.
the crow's foot?
Yeah.
3 or 4 kilometres? 4 kilometres.
All right, any further, Councillor Weston? No? Anyone else? No? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Peter Burns, you're a question mark here.
I just want to see what they covered. Apparently the live feed dropped out again.
Has it?
I think we've got it back up.
No, they're monitoring it now. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. Just to put my position in perspective, I'm a tenant of Mr. Lavis, Eric Lavis, and I run an aquaculture business, beekeeping. I'm also in the middle of completing contracts to purchase a property on Riverina Highway 2 doors down from Dave. So I'm going to be a landholder there, 16 acres, and I'm also a tenant in the area. Dave made a point about the flooding of the road. Every winter we're driving through water, and if there's going to be trucks on that road, it's going to cause a severe problem with the road. It's a problem now, and it's only going to be exacerbated with heavy trucks. noticed in the application that everything's going to be done by best practice and management plan. And we all can make plans, but when it gets down to practice, my main concern is spray drift, because they've pointed out that they're going to have an insect problem. And we all know that spray drift, as much as you can try to prevent it, it happens. I've got many beekeeping friends that have suffered from pesticide kills, and they've lost 50% to 100% of their hives. When you're speaking of 100 hives at $400 each, it's $40,000 for one stand of bees. It's a big loss for a small one-person operation. I plan on running 6 stands of bees, so it's a sixth of my income. And it's the time to rebreed. You've got to remove all the affected contents of the hive, get rid of all the pesticide and start again. So it's a big problem. As I said, everybody can have the best intentions, but spray drift happens. And my bees are kept in the paddock right alongside the proposal, not all year round, but for good periods of the year. Sometimes I'll have 2 or 3 stands in, adjacent. And I also have breeding stock down on the highway where my new property is. That pretty much covers my concerns. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions? Councillor Schill.
Just, Mr Burns, just quickly.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. With the spray drift, you're in a primary production area anyway.
Yes.
At the moment, they would be spraying landholders around you and the people that are proposing the feedlot. Is there spraying done already anyway?
In the past, I generally notify people around that I have bees there, and if they intend to spray a pesticide, I'll shift my bees out. That's a problem, but it's part of beekeeping. But if they're going to be spraying weekly, monthly, and more regularly, then that's when it becomes a problem. Because normally, normal agriculture that in that district, they might only spray once or twice a year, and I can work it, but I'm not there. That being said, the wool shed that was retired from the wool shed on Mr. Lavis's place is my box manufacturing plant, for want of a better term. It's where I paint the boxes. So if the spray drift goes onto all the materials that the bees live in, and I don't know it's happened, as whether the bees are there or not, it can have an effect. So it's more of a case of current practice I can work around, but if they're going to do intensive, then they'll have to do more intensive spraying and more often, so that it makes the place basically unusable.
Thank you.
Any further questions? No. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'd now call on Mr. James Laycock. So welcome, James. Thank you. Over to you.
Mayor and councillors, thank you for this opportunity to speak in regard to this development application. My name is James Laycock of Blueprint Planning, and I'm a consulting town planner. I'm the applicant for the DA, and I represent the proponent right today. I think the best way that I can assist you in making an informed and legally correct decision this evening is to encourage you to focus on the relevant planning assessment law that applies to this DA. In my experience, and I'm sure your experience, following the relevant law always assists in removing emotion and irrelevant issues from proper, fair and balanced land use and development planning decisions.
Excuse
First
me,
point I make is that what is proposed...
Could you just hold the microphone a fraction, please? Thank
The
you.
first point that I make is that what is proposed is legally permissible. The whole land and all land around the site is zoned RU1 Primary Production Zone under the Greater Hume Local Environmental Plan 2012. The RU1 zone is the highest order agricultural zone available under the LEP and indeed available in New South Wales. The zone is otherwise known as the Right to Farm Zone. Under this AU1 zone, intensive livestock agriculture is a permitted land use with the prior consent of council. The second point I make is that what is proposed fully complies with the LEP. The AU1 zone has 5 objectives, and the proposed feedlot complies with each one of them as follows. The proposal encourages sustainable primary industry production because the proposal has demonstrated that all works to establish and operate the proposal comply with all relevant agricultural land use and development policies and guidelines in relation to natural resource matters, including surface and groundwater, soil characteristics and biodiversity. The proposal encourages diversity in primary industry enterprises and systems appropriate for the Bungawana area because no commercial feedlot currently exists, and because the proposal has been specifically cited and designed within the site and in relation to adjoining land by a professional sheep feedlot design engineer using latest industry-specific best practice policies and guidelines based on industry practical operational experience. No subdivision of the site is proposed as part of the proposal, and the environmental buffers required for the proposal do not prevent or limit the use of the site or adjoining land for existing and continued agricultural resource purposes. The site and all adjoining and nearby land is zoned RU1. The nearest non-RU1 zone to the site is in Howlong, located approximately 8 kilometres away. The proposal is for an agricultural land use including agricultural type built works and facilities. All works have been appropriately sited in the rural landscape of Bungawana, such that the existing rural landscape character of the land and the area will be maintained. The proposal complies with the LEP clause 510 relating to heritage conservation, and the proposal complies with LEP clause 518 relating to intensive livestock agriculture in regard to adequacy of information provided, odour, surface water and groundwater, soils, measures proposed to mitigate any proposed adverse impacts, the suitability of the site, which has been fully addressed in the officer's report in the agenda. The proponent has confirmed that the feedlot will comply with relevant industry codes of practice for the health and welfare of animals. The proposal is consistent with and does not depart from the New South Wales Government's planning guidelines for intensive livestock agricultural development. The following additional potential impacts have also been properly researched and assessed, and mitigation measures have been documented in accordance with best practice policies and guidelines and will be implemented, including noise, solid waste, animal welfare, biosecurity, traffic, vegetation removal and biodiversity, and Aboriginal cultural heritage. The proposal complies with LEP clause 6.1 relating to earthworks, and finally the proposal also complies with LEP clause 6.7 relating to essential services. That's the end of the LEP. The third point I make is in relation to animal health and biosecurity. The proposal is designed and will be operated in accordance with specific sheep and feedlot industry guidelines and procedures relating to biosecurity, including Meat and Livestock Australia and Animal Health Australia procedures and guidelines. Livestock will be sourced mainly from public sale yards at Corowa, Vanuatu North and Wagga, which operate under the same relevant biosecurity guidelines and procedures. All livestock are supply chain traceable through the established livestock identification scheme, and every vendor is required to provide a national sheep health declaration. The fourth point that I make is that the proponent accepts all proposed conditions of development consent that are listed in the agenda, including complying with all identified environmental mitigation measures, including in relation to air quality, water quality, biosecurity and environmental monitoring, and upgrading and sealing the road intersection of Humphreys Road and Riverina Highway in accordance with RMS and council requirements. In conclusion, I'll highlight that what is proposed is legally permissible, complies with the LEP, complies with all New South Wales and national sheep feedlot, biosecurity and animal welfare guidelines, and in many respects exceeds those guidelines, and provides acceptable and satisfactory outcomes when assessed under section 4.15 of the Environmental Planning Assessment Act, as set out in the officer's report. A development application having gone through the proper process of demonstrating such permissibility, compliance and satisfactory outcomes should be approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. Any comments or questions? Councillors? No? Thank you very much for your presentation. Very good. Right, councillors, I'm going to open the ordinary meeting of Greater Hume Council, Wednesday 17th of March 2021. In accordance with Council's Code of Meeting Practice, the council meeting is being recorded and will be placed on Council's webpage for public information. All present today are reminded that by speaking you are agreeing to your view and comments being recorded and published. You are also reminded that if or when speaking you are to be respectful to others and use appropriate language. Greater Hume Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures during this meeting. I call on the Reverend Ken Dale to lead us in prayers this evening. Welcome. Over to you.
Madam Mayor, councillors and staff, a short prayer. Father, thank you for every seat that has been filled here tonight for this Greater Hume Shire Council meeting. Direct, sanctify and govern the hearts of all the committee to serve with generous and joyful hearts. For each mind and heart in this room is here for service of their community. Only you, Lord, truly know how our councillors and staff are setting out to accomplish tonight. Each member may have an idea, a vision or hints. Each one has talents, abilities and time to work for a better life for all in the Shire. However, only you can see in perfect detail the end of every beginning, every project and every season. Nothing is ever in vain, for even mistakes and missteps are used for good. Your righteousness transcends all our efforts and understanding. Forgive us, Lord, for any pride. Strengthen our confidence in who you have made us to be. Set us free from comparison in order to work together efficiently. Thank you, Lord, for your great love and care, for your mercy and grace. Lord, bless this meeting tonight, all those present, as well as the lives of those affected by deliberations and final agreements made. Ready the members to make every moment count. In Jesus' name, amen. And a short one, because today's St. Patrick's Day. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
Thank you very much for that. That was very good. Acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri people, and I pay my respect to their elders past and present. We don't have any apologies or applications for leave of absence, I believe that's correct. Item number 5, the confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
I'll second that.
Councillor Meyer and Councillor Hicks moved and seconded. Any comments, Councillor Meyer? Do you wish to speak? No. Any other people? You're prepared to vote? All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Action report from the minutes. Please state page and number if you have any concerns or questions. Councillor Quinn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Page 1. Is there any movement, Mr. GM, on the dentist concept for Holbrook?
Not at this stage, Councillor Quinn. It's something that, in a post-COVID environment, that we might try to reinvigorate.
Any others, councillors? No. We'll move along. Reports from officers. Part A for determination, environment and planning. Item number 1, amendment to Greater Hume Local Environment Plan 2012 zoning and minimum lot size changes for Calcairn.
I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Thanks, councillors Hicks and Quinn. Do you wish to speak? No. Any discussion, councillors? Any opposition? I declare that carried. Thank you. Item number 2, DA 10 2021-22 shed lot.
I'll move the recommendation.
I'll second it.
Councillor Hicks and Councillor O'Neill. Comments or questions? No. Anybody have any queries? If not, any opposition? No opposition. I declare that carried. Thank you. Item number 3, the fixed development consent levy. Yes, we need to withdraw that.
Well, I'll move a motion to withdraw that from the...
Yeah, Councillor Meyer will withdraw. Yes?
Hicks.
Pardon?
Hicks. Councillor Hicks.
Well, you had your light on. Councillor Hicks, sorry.
Yeah, I'll just move a motion to
Withdraw
remove
that.
withdraw that
Withdraw
from this
that.
meeting.
And I'll second it.
And Councillor Schill will second. Any comments or questions? Queries? No opposition? I declare that carried. Thank you. Item number 4, the development application intensive livestock agricultural facility, sheep feedlot in Humphreys Road, Bungawana.
Madam Mayor, I'll move the recommendation with all the additives. If I can get a second, I'll speak.
All right, thank you.
I'll second that.
Seconder, thank you. You want to say?
If I can, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to say that after the agenda has closed, I have added an additional condition, which I read to the applicant on Monday. He was happy with that inclusion of that condition. So there's an additional condition number 19. It basically says that if the feedlot, prior to the operation commencing of the feedlot, council will conduct a final inspection and to satisfy itself that all the infrastructure that's necessary is constructed to our council satisfaction, and that council will ask for compaction certificates for clay lining pans, sediment basins, manure pads and ponds and dams. Applicant at the time is happy with that condition. That's an additional condition.
I'd incorporate that in the motion if I can, Madam Mayor, if the second agrees.
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
agree to that? Thank you. All right. You wish to speak, Councillor Quinn?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there's been a lot of issues raised, very valid issues by objectors, but I think the conditions imposed are very stringent, and I think it's up to council and the road authority to make sure they're addressed, and if they're addressed, the objections will be overcome. The planner who spoke in favour of the development outlined the concept of planning, and it is legal in an agricultural area, and that's why we've got to analyse it from factual, not from emotional point of view, and I think the conditions attached are very stringent, particularly to the roads, and it'll be up to the applicant if they go ahead with it. I commend the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker against? Wish to speak? Do you wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak for or against? Prepared to vote? Yes, Councillor Schill.
Just iterating what Councillor Quinn has said, there's actually 27 very detailed pages connected with this application, and I think everything that has been raised has been very clearly and explains everything clearly, as you go through the application. It's all in fine details, and as it's been mentioned earlier, it is in a RU1, it's in an appropriate area, and it ticks all the boxes with the extra additional conditions, sorry. All the extra conditions, and with that extra number 19, that it will be double checked. I think it's all before us, and I think we need to go ahead.
Thank you. Now,
Sorry,
Councillor Parker?
I was listening to Mr Burns about the the spray drift, and I would hope that all people within the room behind me would consider each other when they're actually spraying. That's common practice in agriculture. My husband does that, and I would hope that everyone's mature enough to do that. That it wouldn't, disadvantage his beekeeping business.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Meyer, do you wish to speak?
Not really, Madam Mayor. I'll probably vote against it because I'm one of those blokes who's lived beside a feedlot, and believe you me, nobody wants that sort of amenity, even if it's a couple of k's away. I can't help it. It's just a thing that I've got in my past, and I haven't ever seen anybody that overcomes it.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Quinn, do you wish to speak to wrap up? No? All right, I'm going to put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillors Quinn, Hicks, Shield, O'Neill, Parker and Wilton. In favour? Against? Councillors Weston and Meyer. The proposal is therefore carried. Thank you, councillors. Now, item number 5, the exhibition of the draft gender residential land
I'll move that recommendation.
strategy.
I'm happy to second it, thank you.
Councillor Hicks and Councillor Parker. Do you wish to speak? Councillor Quinn, you do.
Question, Madam Mayor, to the planner. On page 16 of the draft, I might have pushed the wrong button, or whoever put the paper together might have pushed the wrong button, but they refer to Bowen and Nexus, and that's just not in Hume-Shire whatsoever. One's in Wagga and one's in Albury City.
Bowman.
Sorry.
Bowman's in Wagga.
He's talking about the Riverina Murray Regional Plan, which is like an overarching planning document, and that document refers to those states. That's why he's setting the context of the higher level planning documents, including this Riverina Murray Regional Plan, and it's one of those actions in there which he's just cut straight out of that document and gone straight in there.
Yeah, but the Wagga land is not in the Riverina, in the Ripoon area.
No, it's
anyway,
not.
I spent a lot of time reading it.
Well, it's good. But that's what's happened. That's why the reference is there, because it's that other higher level document, that Riverina Murray Regional Plan makes reference to those two locations being significant.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Prepared to vote, councillors? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Governance, financial reporting. Oh, sorry. Corporate and Community Services financial reporting, yes.
Move the recommendation, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Moved Councillor Meyer, seconded Councillor Parker. Do you wish to speak, Councillor Meyer?
No, Madam Mayor, it's quite specifically laid out.
Yeah. Any opposition, councillors? No, if not, I declare that carried. Thank you. It was a good report though. Item number 2, proposed short-term licence for the Road Reserve for Margama Hotel.
I'll move the recommendation.
Thank
I'll
you.
second that.
Thank you. Councillor Hicks and O'Neill, do you wish to speak? Somebody wish to speak for or against? Councillor Shield.
I just think it's a great initiative, and they, little businesses these days need to be creative, and it's just a great space that will be developed. So good on them.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Parker?
Just like to support what Councillor Shilk said. They're doing a lot of work out at the Margama Hotel, and it's nice to see it back open and running.
It certainly is. All right, I'm going to ask you to vote. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item number 1 in engineering.
Move the recommendation.
Urana Street, Gingera, McLean Street, Calcare and
Seconded.
Shared Footpath.
Seconded,
Councillor
Madam.
O'Neill, seconded.
Seconded.
Councillor Meyer. Do you wish to speak?
No, it's well needed and will be well used.
Yeah, thank you. Any opposition? Prepared to vote? Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item number 2, the Gindra Street Gindra Footpath and Curb and Channel Project. The landowner cost apportionment. Councillor Weston moved and Councillor Quinn seconded. Comments? Questions? Any opposition? No. I declare it carried. Thank you. Item number 3, tender for the Gerardry Drainage Stage 1, extension of works. Councillor Schill.
I was going to move that.
Councillor Schill, moved
To move.
and seconded. Councillor Quinn. Thank you. Do you wish to speak?
Oh, it's just well needed and it's good to see it started and yeah, things are moving along there. Badly needed their drainage at Gerardry.
Is there any opposition, councillors? No opposition. I declare that carried. Thank you. Officers' reports, Part B, to be received and noted.
I'll move the recommendation, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. That to receive and note. Councillor Meyer and Councillor Schill. I think that was very informative.
I'd commend the General Manager on being able to bring all the items forward, Madam Mayor. It's a document now that at least the community as a whole can look at and relate to.
Do you wish to speak, Councillor Schill? No?
No, not at this stage. Seeing there was a comment towards the dental building, proposed dental building earlier, so that was the only thing I noticed that wasn't. Oh, well, it was more GP business, wasn't it? Yeah. That's okay. Thank you for that.
Thank
Madam
you.
Mayor, if I relate from a Riverina water perspective to the condition of water in Holbrook, nobody should need a dentist because they have got the highest concentration of fluoride of any drinking water in New South Wales. And that's a fact. It comes out in the tests that are done weekly.
Really?
Yes.
So that's what
You
gives
would
it
remember
its terrible flavour, is it?
You would remember Councillor McInerney suggesting the water in Holbrook should be bottled. That was what he was talking about.
No, right, okay. All right. All right. We haven't...
Question, Madam Mayor, back on the, I'm having trouble with the graph on the investments.
just a minute. We're not up to
We are.
Well, we haven't put that, have we?
Receiving notice.
All right, okay, they're receiving notes, yeah. Yes, okay. Question? But they're all receiving notes, yeah.
That's right. Generally with Part B, the one motion covers all of the receive and note reports. That's what normally happens.
Yes.
So Councillor Quinn is asking a question about one of the receive and notes reports, which is quite
The
right.
investments. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor.
Just to get either Mr Smith or Mr Hart to explain the graphs, even though I should be able to work it out. But
Which page are you referring to?
sorry, Madam Mayor.
75?
75, yeah.
Yes. Were you interested in the pie chart? The graph?
Sorry, thank you. I'm not sure whether you're looking at the line graph, which is the top one, which shows the average interest rate return on our investments, and it benchmarks it against an RBA cash rate and a 3-month BBSW rate. So it's the blue one is really our returns achieved, and you can see it's dropping down as a result of dropping interest rates. So does that really clarify it for you?
Yeah, that tells us we're about 0.5%.
Yeah, that's correct.
And What's the red line indicate though?
The RBA cash rate is the Reserve Bank cash rate, which is currently at 0.1%.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, councillors? No. Prepared to accept? Declare it carried. Thank you. Part C, items for information. I want you to note the workshop briefing session dates. Diarise them, please.
Happy to move part C.
Happy to move? Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Hicks. Thank you. Any comments or questions? No. Any comments or questions, councillors? No. No, if not, that's carried. Declare that carried. There are other things there. Don't forget to note those dates. It's pretty important. All right. Where are we up to? Briefing sessions, local government circulars, tourism, corporate and community engineering, matters of urgency. Neil? Excellent. No further business?
Question, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Regarding the road tour on Friday, are we bringing our own lunch, morning tea, afternoon tea, or we got everything in hand?
As in previous years, you will be required to bring your own morning tea.
Thank you.
And we'll provide lunch. And then we won't have any afternoon tea because we'll be finishing about 4, hopefully.
Are we having on-foot inspections in terms of safety gear?
No.
Depends how quick we are.
Therefore, I'd bring my own big size fluoro vest then.
If you've got a fluoro vest, bring it along, and for those that haven't, we'll have one.
All right, councillors, I'm going to...
One further comment.
Oh, yes.
Can I make a comment, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
This is an unusual comment.
Depends.
But, I compliment you, sir, on Mr. Planner, on that report. I've been in the council chamber for a long time, and I can count on one hand where I can say probably that I've been so impressed with a report that covers every issue that's raised. It might have taken you a lot of months, but you covered all the dots and crossed all the T's.
Well, I can't take credit for it, Councillor Quinn, because I put it out.
You don't have to admit to that. Especially when you're getting a comment.
Thank you anyway.
All right, councillors. All right, I declare the meeting closed and